The cameras flashed like lightning as my sister twirled in her diamond white gown. Luxury dripped from every corner: crystal chandeliers, a string quartet, and guests dressed like royalty. And me? I stood outside the Golden Gates, clutching the invitation that had been revoked just an hour earlier. "Sorry," my mother had said coldly. "You'll only distract the photographers. It's her day, not yours." Behind her, my sister smiled, the kind of smile that hides cruelty under lipstick. She thought she'd finally erased me from the perfect family picture. I watched from across the street as the guests cheered, cameras capturing every sparkle of her moment. But what they didn't know was that my story, the one they tried to hide, was already unfolding under the Paris sky. A week later, my Eiffel Tower shoot would hit 4 million views, and their silence would be louder than their laughter. They thought this would break me, but they had no idea what was coming. Growing up, I learned early that love in our house came with a spotlight, and my sister Alina always stood right under it. She was the golden child, graceful, photogenic, perfectly molded to fit the family's image. Me? I was too much, too tall, too loud, too opinionated. "Not camera-friendly," my mother once whispered, thinking I couldn't hear. Our father, a real estate mogul who measured worth in carats and contacts, used to joke that Alina was his investment and I was his experiment. I learned to stay out of the way, to help backstage while she sparkled in front. Birthdays, recitals, family dinners. She was the main act, and I was the lighting crew. The wedding planning started 9 months before the day of exile. A luxury hotel ballroom, custom couture, imported roses, the kind of event that made headlines. I tried to be supportive, genuinely. I helped organize her spreadsheets, coordinated fittings, even designed the mood board for her engagement shoot. One night, as I pinned fabric swatches to a board, she laughed. "You know, you'd make a great assistant someday. Not partner, not designer, assistant." I smiled, the kind that hides a wound behind its teeth. Because deep down, I already knew my place in her story. Always the shadow in her spotlight. Our mother managed the image. Her life revolved around maintaining perfection. Friends, reputation, appearances. She'd say things like, "Darling, people only respect success. Be useful, not emotional." And I tried. I built my photography business from scratch, took small gigs, saved every rupee I could. But in our home, it wasn't real, unless it was posted with designer tags and champagne flutes. So when I landed a freelance contract in Paris for an international fashion shoot, no one clapped. Alina just smirked. Paris? How quaint. Just make sure you don't post too much. You might confuse people into thinking you're one of the models. That was the first sting. The kind that burns longer than it hurts. Then came the dress. I'd found a vintage French gown at a flea market during one of my early Paris trips. Soft champagne silk, embroidered by hand, timeless. It was supposed to be a gift for Alina's wedding, something from the heart. But when I showed her, she barely looked up. Pretty, but not really luxury, you know? It looks homemade. She wore a $20,000 designer dress instead. That night, I folded the vintage gown back into its box. And in that quiet, I made a decision. I would wear it, one day, for myself. Weeks before the wedding, the tension started to hum louder. Alina's friends made snide jokes about my Paris hobby. Mom warned me not to upstage the bride by dressing too well. Even Dad advised me to keep things modest, for the sake of family harmony. So I agreed to wear a simple navy dress. I smiled, nodded, and convinced myself I could survive one more event without crumbling. But something shifted that week, like the house was built on secrets finally cracking. I overheard Alina on a call with a bridesmaid, her tone dripping with venom. I told Mom not to let her near the photographers. "She'll just ruin the frame. It hit harder than I expected. Not because it was cruel, because it was normal. This was who they were, and who I had allowed them to be. On the morning of the wedding, I arrived early, dressed simply, holding my camera. I wanted to capture moments, my gift to her, my peace offering. But when I stepped out of the car, a hotel staff member stopped me. "I'm sorry, miss. Your name's been removed from the guest list." I thought it was a mistake, until my mother appeared, her voice sharp as perfume. "We decided it's best if you don't attend. The media's here. You'll just distract from the family image." I froze, invitation still in my hand. Behind her, I could see Alina posing, laughter echoing through the courtyard. She saw me, smiled, turned back to her guests. That was the moment something inside me went silent. No tears, no screaming, just stillness, like a camera shutter before the flash. I looked at the gates, then at the sky. Paris wasn't that far away, and neither was freedom. That was the day I stopped begging to be seen, and started preparing to become impossible to ignore. The flight to Paris was quiet, except for the hum of the engine and the weight pressing on my chest. I wasn't crying. I couldn't. The tears had already burned out somewhere between humiliation and disbelief. I looked out the window, watching clouds float past, thinking how fragile everything looked from above, the kind of fragile that feels permanent until you step away from it. In my lap, the old vintage gown rested carefully folded. It wasn't just fabric anymore. It was a reminder. A piece of me they couldn't label, mock, or disinvite. When I landed, Paris was alive. Street musicians played under the metro bridges. Golden light kissed every rooftop, and cafes smelled like coffee and freedom. I rented a small studio apartment near Montmartre. Creaky floorboards, peeling paint, a view of the Eiffel Tower if you leaned far enough out the window. It was imperfect. It was mine. That first night, I sat on the balcony with my camera and whispered to the city, "If no one back home wants to see me, maybe the world will." Work came slowly at first. Small shoots, late payments, endless editing hours. But with every photo I took, I could feel the weight of their voices fade. Then, one morning, I got a message from a Paris-based designer named Lucien Morel. He'd seen some of my portraits online. "I love how you capture emotion," he wrote. "Would you model one of our gowns for a campaign?" Model. The word almost made me laugh. Back home, I'd been told I was too plain, too serious-looking for that kind of thing. But Lucien wasn't joking. And when I arrived at his studio, I saw the dress. Soft champagne silk, hand-embroidered. My dress, almost identical to the one Alina had rejected. The shoot was set for sunrise near the Eiffel Tower. The air was cold, the sky painted in shades of lilac and gold. Tourists watched from afar, whispering, snapping photos. Lucien adjusted the fabric and said softly, "Look at me, not at them." "This is your moment." Something inside me clicked. Every insult, every smirk, every dismissal. It all gathered into one long inhale. I looked straight into the camera, and for the first time, I didn't pose. I owned. The silk caught the wind. The light hit my eyes. And when the shutter snapped, it wasn't just a photo. It was proof. Lucien posted the images online that afternoon. Within hours, they exploded. Fashion blogs picked them up. Comments poured in. "Who is she?" That energy. This feels like freedom. By midnight, the photos had gone viral. Within a week, the Eiffel Tower shoot had hit 4 million views. 4 million. Meanwhile, my phone buzzed nonstop with messages from people I hadn't spoken to in years. And buried among them, my mother. "Maya, what have you done? The press is asking if you're related to Alina Malik. Keep quiet." For a moment, I almost felt guilty. Almost. Then I saw a comment under one of the posts. This is the same family that banned her from a wedding for being too distracting. Guess the distraction stole the spotlight. I smiled. The world was watching now, and for once, they weren't watching her. But success doesn't silence the ghosts. At night, I still woke up hearing my mother's words. People only respect success. I had success now, but I wanted respect. I wanted to stand in front of them and say, I made it without you. That fire grew every day until I couldn't ignore it anymore. One evening, while editing new photos, I got an unexpected message. From Alina. Just 2 words. Congratulations, superstar. No heart emoji, no warmth. It was the kind of message that sounds polite but tastes like venom. I stared at it for a long time before replying. Thanks. Didn't mean to be a distraction. She didn't respond. That night, Lucian invited me to a gallery event featuring my photos. As I walked through the crowd, the lights, the laughter, the hum of admiration, I realized something. I didn't need to prove myself to them anymore. But maybe I needed to face them, one last time, to finally let go. That was the first time someone reminded me I wasn't alone. The gallery night was a dream painted in gold and glass. Cameras flashed. Laughter echoed. People said my name like it mattered. For a few blissful hours, I forgot everything. The whispers, the rejection, the way Alina's eyes had sliced through me at that rehearsal dinner. Then, right in the middle of it, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I shouldn't have answered, but I did. Maya? My mother's voice, polished, cold. You've caused enough embarrassment, she said. Your sister's sponsors are furious. That wedding video was trending. Your photo shoot was trending. Do you understand what that looks like? I looked around the glowing room, at walls lined with my images, at people holding champagne and saying words like visionary and fearless. I laughed softly. It looks like I finally did something right. There was a pause, then sharp as a knife. You always have to make it about you. Click. The line went dead. The next morning, my face was everywhere. News blogs had picked up the family angle. Disowned sister's Paris shoot goes viral. Banned from wedding, now the star of Paris. Reporters camped outside my building. Some shouted questions. Is it true your family banned you? Will you attend Alina's reception next month? Reception? I didn't even know they'd planned a second one. Of course they had. Alina loved an encore. 2 days later, an email arrived from a law firm back home. Cease and desist. You are to refrain from using the Malik name for publicity. Your recent activities constitute reputational harm to the family brand. I read it twice. Then again, they were threatening me. I called Lucien, panic cracking through my voice. He skimmed the document and shook his head. They can't do this. You didn't use their name for profit. You used your own. They have lawyers, I said quietly. Then we'll have truth, he replied. That night, I opened an old drawer, the one where I kept every childhood photo, every letter, every proof that I once belonged somewhere. At the bottom was the wedding invitation, elegant cream paper, my name missing. Beneath it, a small flash drive, one I'd nearly forgotten. It held years of messages, call recordings, and receipts, every manipulation, every lie, every proof of how they'd cut me out to protect their image. I'd saved it once for closure. Now, it looked like a weapon. The next week, the Malik family hosted a press event for Alina's fashion brand in Dubai. I didn't watch it live, but clips flooded social media. There she was, my sister, radiant, rehearsed, untouchable. Family means loyalty, she said to the crowd. Some people forget that when they chase attention. And then she smiled, that same sharp, controlled smile I'd seen since childhood, the smile that said I win again. But this time, I wasn't 12, and I wasn't powerless. The next morning, I released my video. Simple, honest, no tears. I sat in front of the Eiffel Tower, hair loose, no makeup, wearing that same gown. I was told I'd be a distraction, I said. Maybe that was true. But not because of how I looked, because I refused to disappear. Then I shared screenshots. Not revenge, just truth. Messages from the wedding planner asking me to step aside. Emails from Alina's PR team telling me not to attend. And that legal notice printed right on screen. It wasn't dramatic, it was surgical. By the next morning, it had 3 million views, and the comments had turned. She's the real deal. This is courage. Family can be your first battlefield. For the first time in years, silence came. Not from fear, but peace. They'd tried to bury me under shame, and all they'd done was plant the seed of my voice. That night, Lucian called. You ready for the next step? What step? The Paris Fashion Gala. You've been invited. Walk the runway in your own story. I froze. That was their world, the one I'd been exiled from. But maybe walking into it on my own terms was the only way to finish this. They thought they still had control, I whispered. They didn't. The Malik family didn't stay silent for long. They never did. By the third day after my video, glossy magazines started printing their version of the story. Estranged sister exaggerates family drama for clout. Sources say Maya was uninvited for unprofessional behavior. Anonymous sources. I recognized the language, the same phrases my mother used when she wanted to sound calm while cutting deep. For every post that praised me, 10 more questioned my sanity. Maybe she's jealous. Maybe she wanted attention. Typical influencer move. It was strange, watching people debate your worth like a sport. But this time, I didn't crumble. I documented everything. Lucien helped me build a private folder. Every slander article, every fake account, every email that hinted at coordinated attacks. They're using PR like a weapon, he said. We'll use truth like armor. So I worked. Not on revenge, on proof. I started a mini documentary series, The Distraction Diaries. Each episode told a real story of women told they were too much, too loud, or not good enough. It wasn't about me anymore. It was about all of us. And people listened. My small Paris apartment turned into a studio. Camera lights, coffee cups, laptop humming past midnight. Outside, the city glowed gold and restless. Inside, I wrote until my fingers ached, because every cruel thing they said fueled another episode. But behind the lens, a storm was brewing. One evening, Lucien rushed in, breathless, phone in hand. They filed another claim. I blinked. What now? He turned the screen toward me. It was a lawsuit. Defamation this time, filed by Alina Malik Enterprises. They wanted damages for intentional emotional distress. I laughed, that broken, hollow laugh that feels too heavy for your chest. They destroyed my peace for years, and now I'm the one causing distress? Lucien squeezed my shoulder. We'll fight it. But this means they're scared. Days turned into weeks. Rumors kept coming, that I'd been fired from my agency, false. That my photos were staged, false. That I'd been dumped by a billionaire fiancé, ridiculous. And yet, each new lie only made my next upload more powerful. People started digging, comparing timelines, fact-checking the Maliks themselves. The truth was leaking through their golden walls. One night, I got a message from a journalist named Rhea Kapoor, someone with a reputation for exposing celebrity hypocrisy. I've seen your video, she wrote, and I've seen their press release. I know which one rings true. Do you want to go on record? It was risky. One wrong word could twist everything, but I was done hiding. We met at a cafe near Montmartre, tucked away between ivy walls and candlelit windows. The air smelled of espresso and rain. Rhea listened more than she talked. When I told her about the flash drive, the old proof I'd kept, her eyes sharpened. Keep it safe, she said. There's power in what you've kept quiet. Her article dropped 3 days later. The distraction, how the Malik family tried to silence their own. It was careful, measured, unflinching. Screenshots, timelines, quotes. She'd done what I never could, made it undeniable. The internet erupted. # Let Maya Speak trended for 2 days. For the first time, they were on the defensive. I watched a clip of my parents outside their mansion, reporters swarming like bees. My mother's smile was gone. Alina's eyes darted, searching for the right angle, but none came. No comment, my father muttered, before the car door slammed. That night, as rain tapped my window, I sat by the camera again. The Eiffel Tower shimmered behind me, distant but constant. I lifted the old flash drive. It caught the light, silver, small, unassuming. Everything they'd hidden was inside. The day of reckoning is coming, I whispered into the dark, pressing record. And no one can stop it. The night of the Paris Fashion Gala felt unreal, like I was walking into a dream painted in gold and danger. Cameras flashed from every direction. Reporters shouted names, chasing the shimmer of sequins and secrets. Underneath it all, the city hummed. Soft violins, clicking heels, whispers of ambition in every language, and in the center of it, me, wearing my design, a gown inspired by the very moment they told me I wasn't enough. Silk the color of moonlight, with fractured glass patterns that caught every flash of light. It shimmered like broken pieces finding their shape again. Lucian squeezed my hand before I stepped onto the carpet. "You ready?" "I was born ready," I said, voice steady, heart loud. Halfway down the carpet, I froze, because there they were, the Maliks, all of them. Alina, flawless as ever, standing beside our parents, photographers fawning over them. Their smiles were perfect, but their eyes told the truth. Shock, panic. The cameras turned to me. The crowd's cheers rose like a wave. For a second, our eyes met across the chaos. And I swear time slowed. My mother's smile faltered. My father's jaw tightened. Alina's lips curled, that same smirk that used to haunt me. She shouldn't be here. I could almost hear her whisper. But I was there. And this time, I wasn't the shadow. I was the storm. Inside, chandeliers sparkled like galaxies. The host announced, "Tonight, we celebrate innovation and courage in the world of fashion." I walked the runway second to last, just before the Malik's brand presentation. When I stepped out, the crowd went silent. Every flashbulb hit me like lightning. The dress caught the light and threw it back, 1,000 tiny reflections dancing across the room. People didn't just watch. They felt it. Because the music, the silence, the shimmer, it told the whole story without a word. When I reached the end of the runway, I stopped, turned, and saw them in the front row. After the final applause, the host invited all designers on stage for a short Q&A. I didn't expect to speak, but the mic found me. "Maya Malik," the host said, "your work tonight moved the entire room. What inspired it?" I took the mic. The hall dimmed, and the spotlight landed on me. "They said I was a distraction," I began, my voice calm, clear. "So I became one. But not for the reasons they feared, not because I wanted attention, because I refused to disappear." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. I continued, eyes locked on my family. "Sometimes the people closest to you try to dim your light. Not because it's wrong, but because it reminds them of their own shadows." The audience was silent now. You could hear the faint click of cameras, the breath between words. I was told I couldn't belong in this world. But here I am, on my own terms. And then, I reached into my clutch and pulled out the silver flash drive. Held it up. "This holds the truth, the emails, the messages, the proof of how far some will go to silence others." Gasps. Cameras zoomed. Alina stood abruptly. "She's lying. she shouted, voice trembling. The host tried to calm her, but the crowd had already turned. Reporters whispered, phones recorded. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. Lies are heavy, I said softly, but truth floats. It always finds the light. And with that, I handed the drive to Rhea Kapoor, sitting in the press section, the same journalist who'd believe me first. She nodded once. That was enough. By the time I walked off stage, the world had already shifted. The Malik's PR team scrambled. The cameras followed me instead. I felt no anger, no triumph, just clarity. Lucienne caught up to me backstage, breathless. You did it! No, I said, smiling faintly. I just stopped hiding. That night, I stood on a balcony overlooking the Seine. The Eiffel Tower glowed, steady and golden. Below, the city celebrated. Above, the stars finally felt like they were looking back at me. I don't want apologies, I whispered to the wind. I want change. And this time, I meant it. The morning after the gala, Paris buzzed louder than ever. Every headline, every whisper carried one name, mine. Maya Malik. The distraction? Truth at the gala. The footage from the flash drive had gone viral. Commentators dissected every word, and by noon, the Maliks had vanished. Alina's brand went private. Their PR team issued a hollow statement. We are taking time to reflect. But the internet doesn't forget. Former employees came forward with stories of stolen designs, unpaid wages, and cruelty. Their empire didn't collapse from my strike. It crumbled under years of buried truth. While chaos roared online, I felt still. Lucian found me on the balcony at sunrise. You could capitalize on this, he said. Maybe later, I whispered. Right now, I just want to breathe. Weeks later, the lawsuit was gone. So was their reputation. I wasn't chasing revenge anymore. Just release. I rented a small studio by the river, surrounded by paints, fabric, and music. On my desk sat the framed flash drive. Not a weapon now, but a reminder of what truth can cost and save. One evening, a letter arrived. No name, just trembling handwriting. From home. My mother wrote, I didn't see a distraction. I saw a daughter I never knew. I hope one day you'll let me try again. I didn't cry. I smiled. Healing, I realized, isn't always return. Sometimes it's peace from afar. Months later, I directed my first shoot. No longer someone's sister or scandal, but my own name, my own voice. They called me a distraction, I said to the camera. But distractions make people look. And when they looked, they saw what needed to change. Paris glowed. And for the first time, so did I. Soft music, Eiffel Tower lights behind her. They said I didn't belong. They took my silence as surrender. But walking away isn't weakness. It's freedom. Maybe you've felt it too. The sting of betrayal, of being too much. We rise piece by piece, because worth isn't given. It's claimed. Camera fades out, Paris skyline glowing.